Think about the mechanics of an asymmetrical legal battle. How do you defeat a discriminatory system when your opponent writes, enforces, and judges the laws? To understand the solution, we start in 1929. Born Michael King Jr., he grew up in the stable, prosperous, Sweet Auburn neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia. His upbringing was comfortable. His father was a powerful minister, and his mother a former schoolteacher. But that stability could not shield him from the constant daily humiliations of the segregated South. This diagram illustrates the true nature of Jim Crow. It was a legally enforced architecture designed to permanently subjugate African Americans, placing hard structural constraints on housing, voting, and transit. This presented King with a severe strategic paradox. Initiating a violent uprising would guarantee swift destruction by the overwhelming force of the state apparatus, and yet quiet submission guaranteed perpetual inequality. Defeating a legally engineered system required an equally engineered methodology. Recognizing this, King began an intense intellectual search for a viable weapon. He was an exceptionally gifted student, advancing rapidly enough to skip 2 grades and enroll at Morehouse College at just 15 years old. It was there that college president Benjamin Mays introduced King to a crucial concept: merging theological faith directly with active social resistance. While studying at Crozer Theological Seminary, King integrated the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi into his own philosophy. He formalized Gandhi's methodology of nonviolent protest as his primary tool for social agitation. He continued to refine this approach at Boston University while completing his PhD in systematic theology. There, he met and married Coretta Scott, securing an essential intellectual and strategic partner for his civil rights work. By his mid-20s, King had formulated a precise, academically backed hypothesis for dismantling segregation, but it remained entirely untested in the real world. The testing ground materialized in 1954. At 25 years old, King accepted the position of pastor at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. The following year, the arrest of Rosa Parks provided the exact catalyst required to deploy his nonviolent hypothesis. King was chosen to lead the Montgomery Bus Boycott. Over a grueling 385-day campaign, citizens utilized targeted economic pressure, choosing to walk through extreme weather rather than submit to segregated transit. The economic pressure succeeded. The Supreme Court eventually ruled that segregated buses were unconstitutional, proving that his nonviolent strategy worked in practice. To scale this localized tactical victory across the South, King and a network of organizers immediately formed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957. By August 1963, the strategy was deployed on a massive national scale. King stood before a crowd of 250,000 people spanning the National Mall for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. He was delivering a heavily scripted speech outlining legal grievances. Then, gospel singer Mahalia Jackson shouted to him from the crowd, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." Prompted by Jackson, King abandoned his prepared notes. He launched into an extemporaneous sequence detailing a vision where his 4 children would be judged strictly by the content of their character, rather than the color of their skin. That unscripted choice effectively shifted the entire movement. It evolved from a regional dispute over legal statutes into an inescapable national moral imperative. The intense public and moral pressure generated by his ability to mobilize citizens eventually caused the architecture of segregation to collapse. This visualization shows how the legal framework was dismantled. The first monumental shift was the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which explicitly outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Next came the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This legislation actively removed arbitrary barriers, like enforced literacy tests, that local governments had used to block African Americans from exercising their right to vote. Finally, the Fair Housing Act of 1968 prohibited discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of property, completing the new legal framework. King's methodology had already earned international validation when he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, making him the youngest recipient at the time. Tragically, his life was cut short by assassination on April 4, 1968. He died before he could witness the full, long-term implementation of the policies he fought to secure. King's engineered strategy dismantled the legal structures of mid-century segregation. It remains a permanent, replicable blueprint for any movement pursuing a global, beloved community.